Welcome to In It to Win It. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. We are here for Monday market moves, what happened last week in the markets, and what we expect for next week. We should probably call this one Tuesday market moves because the market is going to be closed again on Monday. It is like teachers and firemen. It hardly ever has to show up to work. All right. Went over the model portfolio from January 1st to December 31st of 2023. We're up 20.01%. I think if there was any mistake there, it was having too much cash and not enough uranium. We thought for sure that there was going to be a recession in 2023, and we were quite wrong. It did not come. Basically, all of 2023, it just had a heck of a bull run. We are touching almost on all-time highs here for the S&P 500. Only got another few, probably $50, and then we'll hit it. So we kind of expect it to hit that, go up to all-time highs. Not sure if that'll happen next week. It's looking like the S&P is going to roll over here. So I think it's our bias is to the downside for next week for the S&P 500. The dollar hit a little bit of a bounce. We said that we thought around 150 cents would be around where the dollar hit. That's about where it hit and bounced up. Next real level of support is going to be around $99.60. Resistance will be around 102. Our bias is to the downside for the dollar. Gold had an amazing year. We hit an all-time high recently, just at the beginning of December, up to 2152. And what cannot be overstated here is we have hit a new monthly all-time high as far as a close and a new quarterly all-time high for a close. We have a super bullish cup and handle pattern that has been forming over the last 12 years, and everyone is familiar with this one, and we are just ironing out the handle right now on the cup and handle for gold. So we fully expect gold to the following year for 2024, probably going to hit around 2,500 or so. Yeah, I would be pretty shocked if it doesn't hit around 2,500 sometime next year for 2024. All right, moving on to Franco-Nevada. That has been the deal of the month, and it is still a really good deal. We were able to snag it down here around, I think, 104 with, I believe, the cheapest we got it. Oh, no, there it is, 103.36. Okay, still floating around 110, 111. This is still a steal. Remember, fair value is up around 130. So you're getting a deal here. It's taking the market longer to realize that this is a deal than I thought it would, but it's still a buy. So if you're new to the channel and you want the best gold royalty company on the planet, this is it, and it's on sale. All right, the up and comer that we like the most is Gold Royalty Corporation, GROY. I think anywhere around this 50 moving average is a pretty good deal. You got a bit of it right there, 143. It hit that on Friday. Settled the week at 147. We have two limit orders in, one here for 140 and then a stink bid in for 120. It's probably not going to hit 120, but I think it will hit 140. So maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get one more buy in there. Another up and comer royalty is Origin Royalties. We got this from the last Rick Rule boot camp. We have a limit order in here for 48. We had one the week before for 47. Again, it came within fractions of a penny of getting it and just never hit. So we're probably going to raise our limit order here to 49, and that'll probably be our fourth and final purchase for this one. But once the gold bull market hits and they start collecting on some of their royalties, this should be an easy double. Silver looks really good, especially on the daily here. I'm sure you guys can, you've been staring at these for long enough. You know exactly what this is. You see the yellow 50 moving average along with the 200 moving average. It bounced perfectly on both of those on Friday, creating a reversal bar to the upside. The technicals are kind of middle of the road, maybe slightly stretched. Stochastic, RSI, and MACD are a little bit high, but it is tough to argue with this. And I suppose we could also throw in a little retracement here and it's hitting right on that as well. So our bias is definitely towards the upside for silver for next week. Leveraging that on something like PSLV, you could have taken advantage of that. The Sprott Physical Silver Trust could have bought into there for maybe a swing trade. And SILJ, we want to wait for just a little bit better of a setup. See, we got the Fibonacci drawn right here. But if it comes down here, if silver does not do what we think it does and comes back down, this could create a really nice setup here as a leverage bet on SILJ to come down and touch right on that 200 moving average. So we'll see how that works out. All right, copper. Copper's just kind of been floating sideways for the last couple of weeks. We are above the 200 moving average for the commodity itself, so that is pretty encouraging. Looking like the 50 moving average is going to cross above the 200, which will create a golden cross. So like that a lot. A little bit stretched in the technicals here, so would like to see it consolidate back down to maybe like 380 or so, and then that might set up a nice setup there for copper. Leveraging that on COPX, your favorite copper ETF and ours, settling right down on the 200 moving average here. So for the week, remember we had a short week here, only 4 days, came up, came back down just a little bit. Would love to see it hit right on this 200 moving average. That might create an entry point for you if you don't have one yet in copper. Although, I don't know, we're kind of cheap when it comes to this stuff. We like to wait for it to settle down just a little bit more, but that might create like your first entry point. If you're going to bet, we'll just throw out percentages. Let's say you're going to bet, your bet is going to be 1% of your portfolio. You're going to bet a total of 100, maybe place 10 right there, and then another like 30 down here around the 400 moving average. And then the back up the truck moment would be down here around 32. All right, leveraging that with Arizona Metals, looking pretty good. It's consolidated back down a little bit, hit on the 10 moving average. This isn't really anything to be obeyed. I just like to keep it on there to have an idea of momentum. Technicals are getting a little bit stretched. Would like to see it kind of consolidate back down a little bit. Maybe we'll get another buying opportunity around like $1.50 or something. But if copper is going to consolidate down, this one should consolidate a little bit more and might get another setup here around $1.70. All right, uranium still going strong, pretty much flat for the week, but I think we are really getting some opportunities here in the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. This thing just continues to climb, doing really, really well. We may be taking more profits here pretty soon. Once uranium gets up to $100 a pound, and we're just a few dollars from that, I think we'll be taking more profits in this one. Probably rolling it into gold, because I think gold will probably have a better year than uranium next year. Maybe we're wrong. We thought there'd be a recession last year as well, so we were wrong on that. But loving this one a lot. I'm going to share my screen with the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust website. We are at a 5.63% discount to NAV. So you can get $100 worth of uranium, but it only costs you $94 and what is that? 37 cents. Okay, so still a deal. No pounds added, but we don't need it. They already have a third of the planet's demand sitting in a warehouse unavailable to the utilities, and love this fund a lot. All right, so moving on to yellow cake. We got a question on this one as far as a setup here. I don't really see one. So this is more for the European crowd that can't get into the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. You could buy into yellow cake here. This is the over-the-counter ticker. Both charts basically look the same. There's just a lot less volume on the over-the-counter. But honestly, I would be more inclined to simply open up an account with Interactive Brokers, convert your currency, and simply buy the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust on that. Or if you're stuck on yellow cake, you could get into this one as well. But I think you're going to want to wait for, kind of like the other funds, you're going to want to wait for this to kind of have a come down and correct a little bit. Looks like the 50 moving average is pretty well obeyed, or at least it has been for the last, 8 months or so. I would be more inclined to wait for a little bit of a pullback. although, this is the commodity, so it's probably not going to obey it anyways, but as far as when to sell, I think the next stop is going to be $100 a pound uranium. All right, uranium, the URA ETF. Now, this was one of the spots that we were talking about. See, so this pays a dividend about once a year. And we just had a dividend payment, and look at what the share price did. So they have to pay for this somewhere, right? And they pull it out of the fund. Probably about half or so of this is going to go back into the fund. But look at what it did. It created a little sweet entry point right here, right? Coming right back down to this trend line that we drew a long time ago, and coming right down to the 50 moving average. If you don't have a position in URA, this looks like a pretty good entry point, right? Now you missed this dividend, but you're kind of restarting the clock. You're going to get one December of next year, assuming that this fund is profitable, which if uranium is going in the way we think it will, it should be quite profitable and you'll get another dividend. So nice little entry point here, or if you want to add to your position, may not be a bad time to do so. Kind of the same thing for URNM. Didn't have quite the pullback that that URA did, but we did get a pretty juicy dividend. That was nice. And check your brokerage accounts and make sure that it got reinvested into the fund. Some of them aren't automatically reinvesting these back into the fund, so you got to manually go into it and see, okay, I got $1,000 worth of dividends here. I need to manually buy another. What would that be? 20 shares or something. But anyways, yeah, anything around this 50 moving average, I think is a good entry for URNM. URNJ, we bought a little bit more of that week before last. We had a pullback on the Kazatomprom fluke. Bit of a pullback here, maybe a limit order around like 23 or something. But this is ironing out to be a nice cup and handle pattern that is going back almost a year. I think this is pretty reliable, and I think the miners are going to start playing catch up to the metal. And I think now is going to be the time where you're going to want to rotate out of the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust and into things like URNJ or maybe some of the other juniors. URNP, I guess this is a one for the European crowd as well. This was brought to me by one of the listeners. As far as an entry point on this, I really don't see one other than pullbacks to the 50 moving average here. The time to be buying this was way back here, and now we've had almost a double. But if you're going to get into it, I would wait for pullbacks to the 50 moving average. Looks like another buy point might be around like 810. Uranium Royalty Corporation. We had a little purchase week before last. We got that in at $2.66. We have a limit order in for 250, probably not going to hit, but again, same kind of theme. We got a nice cup and handle pattern hitting right here. I think in the next month or two, this is going to break out to the upside pretty drastically. Natural gas. Natural gas has just been hammered. If I zoom out here, you can see that just a little over a year ago, I mean, this was trading at about 4 times what it is right now. Nat Gas closed the week at 251. Leveraging that on Devon, love this company for their dividends quite a bit. We might be coming up on a setup right here. Let me go to the hourly and it'll be a little bit easier to see it. There we go. So see, we just run the retracement from the bottom to the top, and then it's hitting the top end of the retracement here. The 61.8 is hitting right on the 200 hourly. Low RSI, low MACD, low stochastic. Really quite a nice setup. I think the ideal setup here would be a bounce, a double bottom, and then up, and that could be our entry point for another buy into Devon. We've got a limit order down for 42. That's probably a pipe dream at this point. But yeah, I think that, and I can tell you their dividends are pretty good here. I'll pull them up right now. So 8%, 6%, 4%, and the dividends do look sustainable. So like Devon a lot. All right, moving on to oil. Closed the week at 71.65. Looks like it might also be coming into a retracement right here. No moving averages to really speak of right there. It's just kind of hanging around the 21. But if we do get a double bottom here in crude, that could be interesting. One way to play that is XLE, the ETF for oil. The two biggest holdings are the best oil companies in the world, Exxon and Chevron, in that order. And like an XLE quite a bit. We've just been buying this one on pullbacks for the last year or so. We got a stink bid in here down for $77. That's also probably a pipe dream, but you never know. If you don't place the stink bids, then they can't hit. So hopefully it does. All right, moving on to Exxon, the best oil company on the planet. Looks like we might be coming up into another buy zone right here. See, we've got this double bottom ironing out right here. So this one took, what is that? That started on December 14th. We're now on December 31st. So it took a couple weeks to form. Kind of liking that one a lot. And on top of that, crude oil itself is also hitting in that Fibonacci. So this could be a leverage bet on that. Great dividends with this company. This is Rick Rule's #1 pick for oil. Blackstone Minerals. We made a purchase on, what day was that? That was Wednesday. Got a little bit more. And see, I think you guys are starting to be able to see this. See, look at the technicals here in the daily. Got low RSI, low MACD, low stochastic, and we hit on a double bottom. See, we like seeing many of these things all line up, and then that's when it creates the entry point. So love this company a lot for their dividends. Just amazing. And we made another purchase. So also have a limit order down here for $15. Hopefully that hits. But I don't think it will. All right, and then this chart we like a lot. I don't know that it really tells us anything, but it's pretty cool to see. This is the pound of uranium in compared to a barrel of oil. And uranium has now surpassed, a pound of uranium is now 1.25 times the price of a barrel of crude oil. I don't think it really tells us anything other than we like seeing the chart do that, because that means we make a lot of money and we are just starting that trend right now. So pretty exciting. Coal, thermal coal, closed the week at 133.80. So pretty much flat for the week. We're going to start becoming interested when this gets down around 120, and then we'll start placing some thermal coal bets. We'll also have Matt Warder back on the show before we do that. Thermal coal closed the week at 323, so down slightly. But we'll become interested in met coal when it hits around 250 or so is when our interest is going to get peaked. That will probably be after February or so, after the winter months, when people, that seems to be the seasonality that Matt taught us for coal. All right, and Glencore, as far as a coal bet, waiting for this to roll over. We got our limit orders in still for $10.50. And $9.50. Hopefully it hits. That will hit on a confluence of support. We may actually put in a limit order around 1120 or so. That'll hit around the 50 and the 200 moving average. This 1050 may be just a little bit too cheap, but if it gets down to like 1120, 1130 or so, that'll hit kind of in a sweet spot right here. That might also line up nicely with the retracement by the time it gets there. We'll have to see. Okay, moving on to some miscellaneous. Bitcoin closed the week. Well, not really closed. It's kind of always trading. 42,239. Don't see any entry points for this. This is kind of treating a little bit more like a tech stock. So we anticipate that this is probably going to get hit when the recession that we've been forecasting for over a year finally does. Platinum. This one's been on a bit of a run. So kind of exciting for the platinum bets. They're finally paying off 6 months later. Palladium, same kind of thing. It hit up and then down for the week, closed the week at 1109. Our nickel bet, the Sprott Physical Nickel Miners ETF, paid a nice juicy dividend, and we caught it right when the dividend paid, and now it's starting to go back up. So I think people are starting to roll those dividends back into the ETF. And hopefully we've carved out a bottom here in nickel. The technicals on this look awful. So hopefully we've hit a bottom, and we'll see how nickel pays off in the next couple of years. If you believe in the battery metals narrative, you can't do it without nickel. All right, and bonds. TLT's finally started to pay off. We were finally up on that bet. So that was a long, painful year. And then we finally become right. So if the market has the Fed pivoting and starting to cut rates in like March, and if that's the case, this one should do quite well. I think our exit strategy is going to be around like 120 or so. That'll line up pretty well with some resistance back here. And I think that's probably when we'll be almost out of this position. We'll see what the market looks like at that point. All right, and then moving on to listener questions. Charles wants to know about Transocean rig. And as far as a technical setup, boy, that was a tick if you could catch it, Charles, right when it hit on this 400 moving average. Look at what the technicals looked like then. We had low stochastic, low MACD, low RSI. It's now started to come up a little bit. Looks like it's getting scooped up here by the 50 moving average. Let me see where the retracement would land for you. It would be around, what is that? 605 to 619, something in that range. I kind of like the 619 one because that lines up with the 21 moving average. So, you know, if you know something about this company that is really drawing you to it, I don't. I'm just a guy looking at the chart here. Yeah, that might create an interesting entry point, or just wait until it gets back down here to the 400 moving average. May never hit, but it also might. That would create a really, really good entry point in our mind. It's right along this 400 moving average, maybe around $5.70, something like that. All right, and Zin, let's see, trimmed Fortuna Silver Mines and bought Franco Nevada. Good for you. You don't have as much upside, but your floor is pretty much where it's at now. Franco Nevada is not going to go much lower. If it does, it won't be much. So well done, Zin. And Darren wants to know about Cross America Partners. Now, as I understand it, I looked at them real quick. It looks like they basically buy like failing gas stations and turn them into successful ones. So this looks kind of cool. As far as a setup on the charts, honestly, I don't really see one here, Darren, but I think you might be. I'm going to go to their dividends here. And this is pretty amazing. 10%, 11%, 12, 11, 15, 10, 9. This is the part that I don't understand, is they're paying out more in dividends than they're actually getting. So I think this is going to be a question for Rick Rule. I don't know how this is sustainable because they've been doing it for a while. And at least as I understand it, the company should have been out of business, but they're not, obviously. And their dividends look pretty amazing. So I think we're going to ask Rick about this one and get his take. Okay, and then Rando wants to know about aluminum. So here is aluminum futures, and what this looks kind of interesting for aluminum. You know, I'm going to go into the company here in just a second, but so this is the commodity itself. As far as anywhere to hit, I think here's the retracement right here, which would line up perfectly with the 200 moving average and the 50 moving average right around in there. So keep that in mind. That's the commodity itself. And then this is the company he's asking about, Century Aluminum. Now, imagine if aluminum came back down to that retracement. That would probably put this one in a similar range right here. And look at what we're ironing out for. A golden cross, the 50 moving above the 200 moving average. I like an entry point right around there quite a bit. We're up at $12 right now. That would put us around 850 to 875, something like that, if it actually ever came down to there. First level of support you're going to see, Rando, is around $10 or so. And then after that, we'll call it 9. And then after that would be right around that 200 moving average. But all the technicals look very stretched right now. I don't see any kind of entry. If anything, I might want to short this for the short term. All right, and we're asking about CRESY. This is agriculture in South America. Shot up here recently. I'm not sure what happened there. It looks like maybe they had a good earnings report. Don't really see any technical entry other than maybe your next level of support is going to be around $8 and we'll call it 70 cents, something like that. But yeah, I don't really see any technical entry right here. Usually when you have a gap up like this, that's kind of a new level of support. So I would kind of look at that as your first level of support right there around like $8.70, something in that ballpark. But the technicals do look pretty stretched right here. Let's see what the volume looks like. Yeah, kind of some selling going on here. I would wait for that to iron out a little bit. Maybe you'll get lucky and hit it on the 50 moving average. All right, and then Harley wants to know Echo Petrol. We've taken a look at this one before. Kind of an interesting point right here, actually. I kind of like. Okay, so your first level of support is going to be around 11.75. And then the next one's going to be around here, just north of $11, which will put you right around the 200 moving average. As far as the dividends go, let's take a look at this. Yeah, I see your concern here, Harley. Okay, so 26% dividend for 2022. That's pretty incredible. Okay, 70% of it went to the dividends. 111% went to dividends. Yeah, we can bring this this one up with Rick as well. We're having him on the show here in less than a week, and we can ask him about them. Roger wants to know about Petrobras, another dividend giant here. As far as an entry into this, I might do, let's say you're going to place 3 bets here. I would place one at the 50 moving average here, around 1550. Then I would place another one down here around, what is that, 1445. That lines up with a lot of support going back. And then I would place another one right around the 200 moving average, which would line up with some back support right around there. And that's 1375, something in that ballpark right there. The technicals are pretty stretched right now. High RSI, high MACD, high stochastic. We want to let those roll over a little bit. You know, I like to just put in limit orders on the way down right here. When you have a dividend giant like this company here, you know, just look at it as it gets cheaper. It becomes a better and better deal, you know, and this one also tends to have little corrections generally on dividends. So maybe wait for the next dividend payout and then you can catch it and kind of reset the clock. All right. And what's this one? EQNR. As far as a setup, I drew the Fibonacci in right here, and I think that's a pretty good entry point. Kind of right around the 200 moving average, somewhere around 30, 40, 30, 50, something like that. So pretty close to where we are now. You've got a lot of support right around $30, you know, into 29 to $30, I think is a pretty good deal. And by then, the RSI, the MACD, and the stochastic should have come back down to create a nice entry point. All righty. And just want to say we're having Rick on the show here on next, when is that? This coming Thursday. So you can submit your questions. This is where you'll do it. Go to our homepage on YouTube, then click the community tab, and then scroll down, and the first one is sign up, or I'm sorry, Rick Rules, submit your questions, put all your comments down there below. Please do us a favor. And if you go back later and think, oh, I forgot to ask this in there, simply edit your comment. You click the little 3 dots right here and edit and put all your comments into, or put all your questions and everything into one comment, and you'll save us a lot of time on the back end. So hope you guys got something out of this. Looking forward to Rick Rules Boot Camp. That's coming up a week from less than a week from when this airs. And hopefully we'll see you guys there. You have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you next time.